Thank you so much for coming on to our show.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. How have you been?
I've been good. I'm really great. I've been in a single season and I'm loving it and loving on me and I'm enjoying myself.
I think that's very important. How is your life going right now as far as work and personal things? Are you staying busy?
Staying very busy. I juggle many hats, so I'm still flying and I'm doing real estate and I'm doing continuing education and just trying to stay on top of everyday life too with like health and fitness, and so busy girl.
Is it hard to just kind of maintain everything, especially like you said, fitness? I know me myself, sometimes it's very hard to find time to get myself in the gym, especially after a long day, but I try to stay as consistent as I can. Does it ever get hard for you, or it's like I don't want to, but?
Oh, for sure. I think the gym for me and fitness for me is 100% mental, like in that anxious energy and just anything to go work off is so good to go do. So I try to prioritize that. But yeah, there's some days I absolutely don't want to go.
Of course. How has life changed for you, especially like in the last 6 to 7 weeks? I'm sure things are chaotic right now a little
How
bit,
has
hopefully
life
in a good way.
changed for me? No, just wild, right? Like I went from just I've always had a very private life. All my socials have always been private. Value my little private life. But of course now, my love story and my reality, went out for the world. And so having thousands of people weigh in on that, I think even if any idea of direction I thought it could have gone, I just don't think you can be prepared for that. Because, it's all these people that have very strong opinions about you, good and bad. But yeah, I think it's very vulnerable to have, something that you usually keep quite private out, but it's what I signed up for to go do.
Looking back at it, was it a good experience for you? Are you glad that you went down that direction, or do you wish that you kind of would have maybe stayed away?
I'm super proud of my journey, super proud of me. I stayed true to who I was through the entire thing. So to not lose myself in something like that, I'm very proud of. I don't regret it at all. I don't regret who I chose or who I did that with. It got me to where I am now. And I'm just a big believer in taking lessons from whatever's happening in your life. I 100% believe I was meant to go that direction. I really do believe this was meant to happen to me. And I'm trying to use that and that self-love that I have now that it kind of skyrocketed me on this journey.
I can definitely see that. And I even try to put myself in your shoes to kind of see what you might have went through or how that might have felt. And it definitely seems like it's just so much at once and so many things going through your head and so many different decisions have to be made so quick. But at the end, you're being judged by the whole world. So it's like every little thing that you do that, millions of people don't like, it's like always somebody having a negative opinion or wanting something negative to say. But hopefully at the same time, there is positive comments and positive feedback and things like that. Have you received a lot of positive feedback?
I have. There's, it's wild, the two different sides of it, the negative and the positive. But the positive feedback I've gotten, just like, there's so many women that have a similar story, and there's so many women that saw a lot of themselves in me and saw my relationship as previous relationships they had been in. So I just, and that's even a vulnerable thing to share. So I've just gotten a lot of feedback that just like, hey, I saw a lot of myself in your relationship, or I saw a lot of things I've experienced in a relationship too. Like, thanks for speaking up. Like, thanks for giving us a voice. And I will never, ever regret being like that voice for someone.
I'm definitely Team Zay.
We love that. I would hope so. I'm on your couch.
I definitely feel like you've inspired millions of women around the world, and that's just good. You have great energy. You're a great person all around, and definitely a 10 out of 10.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's all I wanted.
For when the ladies watch the show, they're trying to find a connection and they're trying to connect to it. For us men, when we watch the show, we're trying to connect with the men's side and so I'm, sitting there watching. I'm like, why are you saying that? You can't say that. You need to say this. And I'm sure millions of men around the world that watch the show too. Every man tries to be a gentleman in its own way. So when they're watching, the men are getting judged on the show too, because every man at home would do something differently or would say something differently. And how did you feel, I guess, watching back on some of the things that have happened on there and some of the things that were said?
Things that stung back then still sting, hearing again. it's validating to watch and be like, oh yeah, you really did say that to me. That's not a conversation like I, over exaggerating in my head. It went down exactly like that. So it's very validating. It's very, it does kind of pull you back in time, with how long ago this was. It has brought up like a lot of emotions and just being like, wow, you really sat there and had that conversation. And in hindsight, there's just, I'm able to see and you're able to critique yourself like, wow, you really do look like you're nagging the living crap out of him. And maybe you could have just, lightened up a little bit and not been so just like, pick up your things and don't do this way. But I think that was kind of like a smaller issue, like a roommate issue, right? Like letting someone in on your space.
But you had every right to, like not to cut you off on that, because you're looking for love, you're looking for marriage, you're not looking for a college boyfriend. You're looking,
No,
so it's
for
like all
sure.
these
Everyone's
little things.
like, she's so serious, and I'm like,
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm always gonna. I'm an intense person, and I do love that about myself because some people can't be. I'm always gonna like stuff cleaned up.
No, of course. And I feel I'm the same way. I like things being clean, and I feel like they took it out of proportion where social media ran with that you're such a picky person and you like things a certain way and a single towel can't be placed in a certain, and I'm like, well, everybody wants things to be clean, everybody wants things to be nice.
Yeah.
So I feel like they just choose a narrative that works best for them and they run with it, and sometimes they don't get to know you as a person. And did the social media play a role in your life right now where you're just going about your day and those comments could get to you, or do you feel perfectly fine no matter what anybody says online?
I think last week it was the shock factor of like, whoa. Like, I think one of my pictures, before I turned my comments off, had like 11,000 comments. And some of them are just like, they just don't even deserve to be repeated because they're so ridiculous and so just ugly. And I think there was a shock last week that I was like, wow, like, I was bullied as a kid, but when like I was bullied as a kid, 3 o'clock, it was done. And I can just see where like it can never stop for like kids now or kids in school now, like with social. So that's really ugly. It was a really ugly side to see. But yeah, something just happened. Something switched in me this weekend. I was just like, this is so irrelevant. These are people that don't know me. The people that do know me and love me and were present for that and are present in my lives now know exactly who I am. Mm-hmm. And that's what matters.
No, of course. People out there, like I said before, they strive off of hating on other people, and it's sad to say, but it's like people love negative energy and they love being negative towards other people, and they don't think twice about how it might affect that person. And it's like, it's so common these days that it's like, rather than even focusing on the negative people and how to change them, we'd rather just change ourselves. Because I'm the same way. It's like, I'll go back and look through the comments and there'll be 100 good comments, and then it's like that one negative one that might say, why is he doing this the whole time, or why is he, just like little comments about the show.
Right.
That one would bug me so much because I want it to be perfect. Mm-hmm. But you can't be perfect, you can't please everybody.
Exactly.
It's just gonna weigh you down.
You can't win over everyone. Mm-hmm. And but I mean that's life, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, that's where I just kind of came to it with the conclusion. I was like, forget it.
With your life pretty much being out in the public and millions of people seeing it, that your dating life moving forward is going to change. that people might want to, try to pretend to be the person that you wanted on the show or that you expressed rather than just be themselves.
I would like to say I have a really good like BS detector, and that I can usually read people really well. So I would like to say I could see through that. But sure, now people have secret weapons, right? About what I like. Like, yeah. I mean, win me over with a clean man, yes. But I mean, I hope my dating life changes moving forward. I mean, that was absolutely a reason to go do this. I'd done every dating app. I'd been set up by like my friends, and like, oh, we have my brother-in-law, my brother. Like, I've been set up on the blind dates. I've done the dating apps. And so I wanted something in my dating career to change. And the journey I've been on for the past year has changed. Like, I've greatly changed as like just a woman as far as where I'm at with myself. I'm the happiest and healthiest like I've ever been. Mm-hmm. So yes, I do hope my dating life changes, and I will have to filter through the ones that are just trying to be my ideal man, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like now, and of course back in the real world, that you get to see the person before you ever take it to that serious extent, that helps quite a bit? I
think looks do matter. I think you need to be attracted to someone, But I also think you could be the sexiest man alive, and if you are a shit person,
Yeah.
it makes you wildly unattractive. It's not just face value for me. I've
Yeah.
dated some beautiful, beautiful men, but they haven't been it either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to have the full package.
You do. Like, I don't know. There's a certain amount of stuff. I just like feel like if you found a man, you're like, he doesn't dress exactly like. I'm like, we can go shopping. That's fine.
I feel like what I was telling my wife too. It's like a lot of things that bug me and my wife is like we would watch the show. It's like, especially from like the men's side, they'd be like, well, the other lady, you know, yes, she's beautiful. Yes, she's this. Yes, she's this. But I'm emotionally attracted to. It's like, well, the girl that you're emotionally attracted to, she wants to be all those other things too. So you can't say that all these other girls are more than you, but I'm emotionally, it's like, I want you to be physically attracted to me, emotionally. I want it to be all of the above. I don't want to just be emotionally.
I think people want, like, you want to be wanted. Like, I want you to want me. Yeah. Like that's a big part of it for sure. When
you look for your perfect guy, does he have to have, you know, a certain haircut, big muscles, a beard? Is there a perfect guy out there that you imagine, or it could really be anybody that just kind of wins you over?
I'm not looking for a perfect person, right? Because I'm not perfect either. But the things I would like someone to just meet me at my equal. Like I take care of myself, try to make sure I eat good food and work out. So I like would love someone that does that. I've been in therapy multiple times in my life, like huge advocate for it. I've had to go for like just life traumas and things. And I would love someone that's like worked on themselves too, you know, like meet me there, and then everything else is like extra. But like, honestly, like I still am a sucker for like a great set of teeth. Like take care of your mouth and smell nice.
Oh, of course.
Those are like like those are things that I'm like, can you please just, those are the things I like. But
that's what everybody like should be like, and that's like the bare minimum. So it's not like you're asking for too much.
I think it is, but before anyone comes for me, I like it if you floss, you know? Yeah.
No, of course, yeah. Do you have like a deadline for yourself where you're like, I'd like to get married by a certain age? I know that just puts more pressure on you, and you don't need pressure, but
it does put pressure. You know, I'm 32. Medically, there's like stuff, you know, where you get into like higher risk pregnancies and things like that. I have never put a timeline on myself. I think it's silly to do that. I know that I'm not dating just to date anymore. Like, I'm not interested in casually dating whatsoever. Would like someone that wants to be married and would like to have a baby. But I was telling my girlfriend the other night that I found out that we're going into Gen Alpha. And so Gen Alpha babies born from 2015 to 2025 are going to be Gen Alpha babies, which I think is fire. And so there is a tiny little thing in me that I want to have an alpha baby.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm going to need a man first. So definitely man first. We'll do it the right way, keep my family happy. Yeah.
Family's definitely in the big picture for you. When you can see like the bigger goal, it's like having a family. And,
1000%. I've lost a lot of mine. And a lot of that, and I've always wanted to like rebuild that, and I would love to have a big family. I would love to marry into a big family too. From
at least what I know about you is that you just want to have a big family for yourself, of course, and then be accepted into a big family as well. And that kind of, you know, hurt my feelings a little bit, just, you know, going back to like what we see on TV and like knowing that you weren't really accepted right away by the other side and things like that. I feel like, why would anybody not want to you know, accept somebody like you? So
I definitely have like my own faults in relationships and things. Like I'm not perfect and I'm not without fault, but I will say parents do love me. Families love me. Like my ex's parents were all just like, what is she doing with you? Like, she's fantastic. Like, parents love me. And so I would love to find a family that, you know, I want a mama bear and a papa bear that are like, oh no, like you're with us now. Like that's what I always looked for.
Hopefully it's coming for you very soon.
I hope so.
What's the longest relationship that you've been in?
I was in a 2.5 year long relationship in my like late 20s.
Did you think that was going to be the one?
I sure did. Yeah, I did. He was 10 years older than me. And so I just kind of thought that was definitely the trajectory we were on. I did think he was going to be my person. I thought he would be the father of my kids, and it just didn't work out that way. We weren't each other's people, and we recognized that. ended things. But
did that relationship, with it being a long-term relationship, play a factor with you moving forward into other relationships where it made you move a little differently maybe? Or
I try to, like I said, I try to take a lesson from every relationship. I say that one taught me a lot of stuff that I didn't want. But I think that's what everyone that comes into your life can teach you.
Oh, of course, maybe it's not you at all. Maybe it's them, so don't be too hard on yourself.
To point fingers, but I'm not going to try not to.
Yeah, sometimes, a person's always hard on themselves, and that can kind of play a big role on yourself, where you always think you're the victim. You always feel like you're doing everything in a wrong way, and you always want to try to be better. But then it's like that can start to mentally affect you, where you keep starting to think that you're the problem, and you're like, what's wrong with me? But maybe nothing is wrong with you, and just the perfect guy hasn't been out there yet, and he's to be found.
One can hope. Yeah. I hope he's out there. Maybe he's listening to this. Maybe he's going to come find me after this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, make sure your DMs are on. That's usually where they come.
They're open. The DMs are open. I went on a 500-word essay.
With the long-term relationship being a 10-year difference, would that still be an option, or is there a cutoff of maybe where you'd want the age difference to be?
There is not a cutoff. I think just where I'm at now, being 32, coming from a mixed family, like as far as like kids involved, step-parents, step-siblings, I remember what that was like for me. The guy I was in a serious relationship with had children, and it just adds a whole different dynamic, right? So I'm not ruling it out, because I know that I'm 32 now, and that if I date someone 10 years older, they might have kids. But I just find that it's just not my first choice. But I'm also 32, and if I'm going to date 10 years older than me, I've got to be realistic about that, right?
Oh, that's very tough. Like, I have 3 kids myself, and they're all 8 years, 6 years, and 4 years old, and they're bad kids. And sometimes I joke with my wife, and I'll tell her, I was like, if these kids were from your first marriage and we just started dating, like, I'd probably like step back, because this is a lot. It's like screaming, throwing toys, like it's very wild, and it's just become so much. So I definitely could see why that won't be a first choice, or maybe it wouldn't be.
There's always other people to consider, right? Because there's the other, like, it would always involve another woman, like the mother of those kids, right? So it's not my first choice, but I am 32, and so the reality is, if I decide to date someone in their 40s, then they might have kids.
What's just career-wise for you? How are things going? Are you, like we said, you're busier than ever. Is there a certain future that your career is going towards right now, or that you want it to go towards?
Travel's like always been in my blood, and with my sister still being in England, like I'm gonna continue, doing the trek of travel. But I really want to lean into my real estate. I would love to get into luxury real estate. I'm not opposed to leaving Dallas. I would even move to like a bigger market. But yeah, I really hope that I can like cultivate that. And I've never been like a 9-to-5 girl, so I definitely want to still continue making my own schedule and having flexibility. But yeah, I want something that I can do my part to support do my part in like a partnership for a family.
Do you enjoy the hustle behind being in real estate, where it's kind of like always chasing the next big step, not knowing what it's going to be, not knowing the next deal? And
yeah, I love the grind. I love it's exciting, right? And it makes you constantly work. I want to always be improving. I want to always chase that next step, and be that next like better version of myself. And so I think real estate allows me to do that, because I'm in charge of how much money I'm making. If I want more, I go get it.
Now I know a lot of people say it doesn't matter how much a man makes, doesn't matter how much a woman makes, but I feel like eventually when you're ready to settle down, you kind of want an equal partner, right? Or how does that play a role on your end, where it's like if you met somebody and you're really attracted to them and you love a lot of things about them, but then you find out that they're still working at a, no offense to people at McDonald's or Jack in the Box, but like if they're still working at one of those fast food chains, could that be a big turnoff or a big no? Or
I don't think it would be like a big turn off or a no, but I think it goes back to like meeting me at my equal. Like, do what I can do, if not better. And this might be the totally wrong approach to it, but I want to marry up, right? Equal or up. Like, if I'm doing this for myself and I can afford this lifestyle, meet me here. Bare minimum, meet me here. But like in the old school ways, like if I'm doing, you know, wifey things and cooking dinner, and like doing all the old school feminine roles, then you can be the provider and do all the old school men roles. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. But I'll always work. I think I've had 2 jobs since I was like 15 years old. Like I will always want to have my own money, my own play money. I love, when I'm in a relationship, I love to spoil my man. I love to do trips, and I'm a gift. Like I love in gifts. Like I want to be able to have my own money.
For like people out there that might have like negative comments about this conversation, because everybody always has different things to say.
Everyone's got an opinion, yeah.
You know, it's like we're not fresh out of high school. So it's like if you find out that somebody really is still working at a Jack in the Box and they're 34 years old, that's a big red flag. You know, you've had 16 years worth of experience. Why are we still at this level? Why are we not leveling up? The second thing is you want kids. You want to have a family, which means you're going to have to stay at home. That one income at $8 to $10 an hour isn't gonna help provide for the family. So there's a lot of bigger things to think about than just falling in love and everything else doesn't matter. Everything else does matter because the family is coming together.
The takeaway of that is just you make the best call for family. Like you said, you're going to need an income that supports the family. If someone's home, like being homemaker, then the other person definitely needs to like step up, right?
For sure.
If the family is to get taken care of.
What are your opinions as far as like when it comes to a man to a woman, roles and things like that? Should a man have to know how to change a diaper and do all those things?
A man
or are
better
you more
know
old school? Or
Dude, a man better know how to change a diaper. I'm kind of for like the you know, I've taken care of a newborn here and there for a girlfriend or whatever for a night out, and it's like a okay, that cries, your turn. You know, it's equal parts.
Of course.
But I think I'm kind of a fierce alpha female in most areas of my life. And when I'm in a relationship, I like to date a man. Like I'd like to be able to fall back and be like that soft feminine that I don't get to be in most areas of my life, because I honestly just haven't had the chance to or got to be because of my life and what's happened to me.
Sure.
So I would love that caretaker, and I would love that man that's the man. But like, I mean, that also comes with me being like, I can't wait to be a mom. So it's like, I'm going to want to do all this stuff at home with the kids
and
too.
The man should be a best friend too, where it's not, the roles don't matter. It's really of him trying to be your best friend and help you in every situation that he can. And it's like, if you're tired, if you need to take a nap, or he takes over, doesn't matter what the roles are. It's, we're best friends in this. We love each other. You go take a break, I'll take over, and vice versa, right? Yeah,
I think it's just that, like, it's the partnership, and it's something I read it way back when, but it's like, it's not, I'm not looking for another half. I'm not someone's other half. I'm a whole. I'm looking for an entire person. And it's the idea that you both bring 100%, right? Because one day when I'm down a little bit, we still have 100%, and vice versa.
Do you believe love in first sight, or do you think it takes time?
I think there's lust in first sight. I'm not gonna say like, I see a beautiful man, I can be like, that is a beautiful man. I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, I love that man.
Right, okay.
That's my take on that. I mean, I think you can 100% be enamored by someone when you first see them, but to be just like, oh my God, I love that beautiful man over there.
Right.
It's a bit much. It's a bit much for me, yeah. Because he could open his mouth and then just be like, not anymore.
Right.
You know?
Do you have rules when it comes to dating, as far as like, okay, a certain amount of dates before a kiss or before first base, second base, things like that?
I can't stress this enough. Read the room.
Yeah.
Like, the night doesn't have to end with a kiss if it's not going that direction, right? Like, don't just come attack my face either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't force yourself.
Like, but yeah, just like read the room, read the vibe. I've done the whole 3-date rule. I've done I've been in this dating realm now for like over a decade, right? So I just think my most healthy relationships I have in my life to look up to, like my friends that are married, that I'm just like, gosh, you guys have it all together. What's that like? Tell me how. It's that cheesy line of like, when you know, you know. Like one date with them and I never left them alone. Like I knew on our first date. And so I think I'm maybe hopelessly romantically still looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just haven't met my person that I'm just like, oh yeah, it's you 100%.
I know you've gotten some slack on the show because of the comments that were made after the first night with your partner, and the comment that the partner made was something along the lines like, oh, it was good. I feel like I feel like everybody's partner, especially the first time, it should be something much more energetic, like, oh my god, it was amazing, you're the best ever, this is great. So I don't think you're wrong at all, but the world took it as, oh my god, you're being too picky for wanting, this is somebody that you just got engaged to.
Right. Like this is like our big honeymoon night, right? So yeah, I said great. He said good. There is a difference between great and good. We don't need to go back into that. But yeah, I just had higher hopes, right? For my first night with like my new fiance. Oh, like I thought it was great. You didn't think it was great? Let's dissect that. But that's where my head went.
Would you take anything away from how the whole situation played out, or the things that were said, or do you feel like you were just being honestly yourself and the world just thinks you're more picky than you really are? Because I don't think you're picky at all. I feel like everything you've said are things that you're trying to find out about your relationship, and you're on a quick timeline to do that. So you can't really extend and not ask some of those things or not be upset about those things because the timeline's ticking, right?
Right. You are in this sped up experiment, and there was a lot to learn about people. Is that something, is the good, great thing something I probably could have just let go and focus on another thing? Sure. But we were still learning how to communicate with one another, because that was the first day really we were with each other, with like our communication styles and our body language. Like that was really big for him. Him not talking to me was really big for me. And so we were just clashing on our communication styles.
Were those red flags to you, kind of seeing that you weren't receiving the magic that you thought you should be receiving on the first night and second night, and where it was kind of already butting heads a little bit? Did it throw a red flag already? Or?
I think that in any other situation, in any other dating period, right? Like we just gone on one date and then we had a night together and we were having that conversation. Yes, red flags would have gone up. I think for me, I was always just like, okay, it's just communication, but like we know we love each other, and we just did this incredible like experiment that shows like we love each other to the core of who we are. Mm-hmm. So like let this go, let good, great go. Mm-hmm. And there for the entire engagement, I always fought to get back to that, because we, to me, had a much deeper connection than a good and great, and then like a way we communicate, and like a towel on the floor. Like it was like, is this a hill I'm gonna die on?
And just to kind of like clear the air on some of the things that we've read online, and the reason I want to bring this topic up is because there's over like 100 tweets saying that, well, if you knew that he wasn't the right man for you, you could have ended up earlier. Why wait till the end? Like for the people out there watching, could you explain to them maybe how that whole situation happened, and why you did what you did, and why you waited till the end? Or maybe that's just the moment that you felt like you needed to say something.
It was I fought to get back what we had in the pods, what we had at reveal for the entire engagement. And Cole and I hit bumps in the road, but there was a change in him. You saw our dance lesson, you saw our sailboat date, where he was leaning in fully, and each day I would see something like that from him, and I was like, there's the guy I fell in love with. Mm-hmm. But I think when it came down to wedding day, it was like, is the good, does it outweigh the bad? Can I do this? Can I continue to do this when I know that like I might get dismissed here, or my mental health might get questioned here? Like, is that what my forever person would look like? And so even wedding day, like I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm in a wedding dress. I've got all these people here that I love. Like I want to get married, but can I get married? And it's not something, I didn't have, people thought I had a speech. Like I'm like, I got praised all season for speaking well. I don't slip up my words. So the idea that I wouldn't get up there and say what I wanted to say is ridiculous. But I had an idea of like a yes too. Mm-hmm. But when I said I wouldn't know till I got to the end of that aisle, and when I looked up, like I was like, this isn't it. Like looked terrified. I was like, that's not my person.
Anxiety's running too, and things
Yeah,
like
and
that.
I said a lot of nice things up there. I tried to be very gracious, tried to be very kind, and tell him that, like, you know, I don't think you're a bad guy, and that I did love him, but it like that wasn't enough to overlook everything.
When you woke up that morning of the wedding, was your mind already made, or you really didn't know until you walked the aisle?
I think I had a lot of feelings. I think my first and foremost thought was just it didn't feel like right, but I still was like, I was still so excited to see him in his tux and to be walking down an aisle to him. So it was very confusing.
And that relationship is fully over, and you don't see revisiting it ever again, or
1000%. Yeah. There is no like romantic future for us whatsoever.
Well, I know for you the future's bright, you know, especially like some of the things we talked about today. You have a lot going on, and I know it's only gonna get better and better for you.
Thank you.
You know, now that the social media has officially, you know, seen the show, and I'm sure your DMs are blowing up, the followers are going up, business is booming, hopefully.
Yes.
So things are going in a positive direction, and that's really good. And all you can do is be the person that you truly are. And it's like, even on the show, you have to be who you are. You're a very strong woman, and the future is bright for you. And we thank you so much for coming on to our show, and would love to sit down with you again sometime in the near future and catch up. And hopefully your fiance or man will be right there with you.
Yeah, maybe we can do a couple interview. That would be cute.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, good. I had to look back. I was like,